I just wanted to add in a trigger warning on this video. The way that she was murdered is pretty brutal and we will be talking about it. So just keep in mind if that's too much for you. It is in the video. There is talk about the crime scene. And just be forewarned and enjoy the video.
What up, Spoobies and Spoobettes? This is Aaron and Nicole. We back at y'all with Unsolved Enigma. And today we got a fucking crazy one for y'all, yo. Excuse the cussing, but after we tell y'all what's going on in this one, y'all just gonna, it's gonna blow y'all mind.
We also got a new background.
Yeah,
so
gang
pretty.
gang. We out here, Brick City.
So we're gonna be talking about Candace Hiltz today. She was born in Canyon City, Colorado, which is like an hour.
Maybe. It's
like
like 40.
an hour
Well, the way I
us.
drive, I can get there like 30, 45 minutes. But yeah, it's around
Normal
somewhere around
people,
there.
It's
But,
like an hour away. Her father died when she was a kid. But
I think she was like 5 years old.
Yeah.
So she didn't really have too much memories of him.
And she grew up, she was the youngest, but she had, I think, 9 older brothers. So
But she was the only girl.
yeah, so she was a tomboy growing up, and she was also said to be a child prodigy. She was doing super advanced math by the time she was 11 years old.
Bruh. Calculus.
Yeah, I never got to calculus.
Nah, I didn't even get past geometry. I'm not even gonna lie.
She was
I
doing,
like shapes and I kept it at that.
she was doing super advanced math.
She was already way ahead of her classes, getting bumped up, and she was already in college at...
She was in the 3rd year of college when she was 17.
Yeah, 16, 17 years old.
So everybody said that Candace always stuck up for like the little people, even though she was a really small, petite girl.
She don't like bullies.
Yeah, she did not like bullies. So she was always known to stick up for everybody. And she had dreams of going to Stanford Law School and becoming a Supreme Court justice one day. So her being a child prodigy and being super intelligent definitely was shooting her in that direction.
Yeah. But something kind of put a delay in it. She ended up getting pregnant and having a young little girl. I believe she was at the age of 16. And a little girl by the name of Paige. And she was diagnosed with... I want to make sure I say it right, so I'm trying to look it up.
It was...
hydrocephaly, which is...
it's a buildup of
it's
fluid
like,
on the brain.
Yeah, cerebral spinal fluid in the brain. So, and basically, she didn't have that much long to live.
She was given a really short lifespan because of this. She was pretty severely disabled. So Candace ended up switching. She was attending Brigham Young University, and she switched to online classes. That way she could spend as much time as possible with her daughter.
That way she doesn't know how much time she has, and she wants to take advantage of as much time as she, you know what I mean? Which I would have done the same thing.
I would have quit school. She's better than me. So she also eventually did get her acceptance into Stanford Law, but she...
That's big shit, especially for a young girl.
It is, but unfortunately, she would never attend. Candace had an older brother named James, and James had some serious psychological issues.
It was said that he was, don't quote me on this, from what we saw and what we heard, he had multiple mental issues, like he didn't like being around people to the point where he couldn't even be around his family. He couldn't even be in the same house as them. And they lived like basically in the woods, like in the woods country out here. And it's basically their backyard is just nothing but wilderness. So that's where he lived.
Yeah.
He lived pretty much in like a tent and all that out there. And he was just living in the mom, Dolores. So the mom, Dolores, she would leave this box that she had or stuff like that. She would leave stuff out for him because he didn't like coming in the house even whenever the family was home and stuff.
Mind you, there's 9 of them, I think.
Yeah, but I don't know how many of them were, how many people were living in the house though.
That's true.
I didn't.
There's still several people.
As far as I know, it was the mom, and then it was Candace, it was her daughter, and then that's all that, I mean.
That's all that was really talked about.
Yeah.
Even though Candace's brother didn't like to be around anybody, Candace was really overprotective over him still.
Which I would be too.
So they encountered their first incident with Sheriff Deputy Robert Dodd. He came to the home looking for James, Candace's brother, to question him about a trespassing incident. So they...
Did they say he came alone? Did he come alone on that time? I think so.
I think so.
Yeah. I'm not sure I believe when he came there to say it was a trespass, and I believe it had something to do with a home invasion or a burglary or something to that degree, where they knives, hatchets, and a bunch of flashlights were stolen. And so he came to question him about it, and he was pressing the mom about where his whereabouts, and she told him he lives in the woods. If you want him, go find him. You know what I mean? And
we aren't sure like exactly what led to it, but from what I understand, Candace didn't like the way that Dodds was talking to them, and
it's probably being a. I'm not gonna say that.
And so they ended up getting into a heated argument, and he said that she needed to basically chill out or he was going to arrest her. And
boy, did she have some words for him.
She told him.
She said, boy, go ahead and throw them cuffs on me.
Yep.
Go ahead and throw them on me, bruh.
She said, that's fine. Go ahead and arrest me because I've seen you accepting envelopes from known drug dealers in town, and I would be more than happy to share that information. So he left without arresting her.
Oh, yeah, he was pissed. They said, the mom said, in her words, he looked at her in silence with a pissed off look on his face, and then he just walked out and didn't say anything else after that. Nothing else pertaining to the brother or anything like that. So, here's where shit starts getting crazy. Several days starts to go by, and they start to notice that the dog went missing. And mind you, where we live out here,
in Colorado.
And you know what I mean? We got mountain lions, bears, especially
if you live in your house,
especially if you live closer up to the mountains and stuff. And Canyon City is literally on the other side of Pikes Peak. So we're right here. Pikes Peak is literally right behind me, and then they live on the opposite side of that. You know what I mean? So they still got all of the terrain and stuff like that. So if you got a wild animal and with all that land, I mean, it's a chance it
happens.
You know what I mean? So that there's two reports about them looking for the animal. One said that they weren't really pressed about it, and one said that they were really looking for it. I mean, me personally, I don't think they were too pressed. I mean, they were wondering because, after their incident with the officer, I'm pretty sure that they was, you know what I mean? All right, after this shit, you know what I mean? After all this happened, and then my dog go missing. You know what I mean? So
then Candace went to the sheriff's department to supposedly report their missing dog and got into another altercation with the deputy, which they think was Robert.
It the same him?
Well, they think it was him, but it's not confirmed. So she got into an altercation and left. So a couple days later, on August 15th, Candace was murdered.
So her mom had to go run errands it was August 15th.
Yeah.
Candace ended up being at home, left alone with her daughter, and the mom didn't. Dolores.
Stuff had been weird.
Yeah, the mom Dolores didn't want to leave her there because the dog was missing. It was eerie, and then the officer stuff, you know what I mean, going on this, that, and the third. But she had to go do what she had to do. So she ended up leaving, and then she started forgetting that mother's intuition is what I call it. My mom's had it before, you know what I mean? When something's going on, your mom calls you and she knows, bro. You know what I mean? This shit's real.
So she called one of their neighbors to check in on Candace.
Now this is confusing because
there's two different reports.
So the mom said when she called them, they said that they couldn't go.
Yeah, they never went over there. To her.
But other reports the other report said that the neighbor heard the baby crying and went over there and got the baby and took the baby back, and he saw blood in the house and this, that, and the third.
But when Dolores got home, the baby was in the crib crying.
She said she heard the baby in the house.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out, did the neighbor put the baby back in the house?
It makes no sense.
And if he saw the blood, why didn't he call the police?
Exactly.
Why didn't he call Dolores?
So I think maybe Dolores is right on this, and it was a discrepancy in a police report, which seems to happen a lot in this case. So Dolores got home at 3:30 in the afternoon, and she found Paige.
She could hear her. She could hear her while she's walking up in the house.
And she was a little under a year old. So she's screaming and crying in her crib. And then Dolores, rushes in and she's looking around and there's pools of blood and splatters of blood, and she didn't see her daughter anywhere.
So she went to go get Paige out of the crib. And as she went to go get Paige out of the crib, she looked down and saw that the bed was propped up. And as she could look under there, she saw what looked to be like a rolled up blanket. So when she went to go pull the blanket, she kept pulling it, and that's when she realized that Candace had been killed and she was wrapped up under the bed. So I guess they propped it up with like a computer tower or something like that so they could get her under there or whatever. But she was murdered to the point where she was unrecognizable. Her face was shot at least twice with a shotgun, multiple times with multiple handguns.
They said that it was so bad that, like, she was nearly decapitated, and over 75% of her head was no longer visible because she had been shot so many times, which is
a
awful.
Shotgun up close is going to do that anyways. I mean, all that extra is just, you know what I mean, overkill. Honestly.
So
somebody was mad. Yeah, somebody had to prove a point. Somebody was going in.
It didn't come across as it was just a random break-in. That was personal to be that brutal.
Not to mention, nothing stolen.
Exactly, nothing was stolen.
Nothing was stolen. Nothing was missing. They didn't have any enemies. You know what I mean? Exactly. And the baby daddy of the kid, nobody knows where he is. So I'm thinking either she is the only person who knows who he is, or she doesn't know who it is, or they just want to keep it that way. You know what I mean?
There was no open cases, though. Like, no open child support cases or anything. So it's not like there's something open that would cause him to be like, I'm going to take her out so that I don't have to deal with this. So, but Candace's mom fell to the ground. Of course, she's devastated, and she held Candace's hand until the police got there.
She didn't get the baby out of there?
No, she sat there with the baby. One of my babies is dead. Are you kidding me? I wouldn't be able to get out of there.
Damn.
So she called 911 and the police came. For whatever reason, the police have refused to release a 911 call. It's been requested multiple times and they will not do it.
They on some funny shit.
They say it's because it's an ongoing investigation, but you will hear throughout this on why stuff is just really sketchy throughout this case.
The whole police department.
Deputies that came out were Deputy Briscoe and Deputy Dodd.
The same cop she got into it with is going to investigate her homicide. Now that right there, to me, was a red flag. You know what I mean?
And according to her mom, they just did an awful job surveying the crime scene. They didn't tape the crime scene off. They left the door open. People were in and out.
They left the bloody blanket she was wrapped in.
So much evidence in the house. They just did a really half-assed job on this. And
they left the shell casing in the crib.
Yep.
A shotgun casing in the crib. They didn't find any handgun casings. So I'm believing they were revolvers. And if they weren't, they picked up their shell casings.
And
I think they said one of the small calibers might have been like 22.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean?
And luckily though, one of Candace's brothers had taken a forensics class. So they went and got gloves and they got supplies and they collected all the evidence themselves.
Logged it all themselves, did everything himself.
And took it to the
police station. And was like, what the fuck y'all doing?
Yeah. And
here you go. You left some stuff. Like, come on.
So the officers tried to say it was Candace's brother, James. So they're looking for him and they're trying to track him down.
They go into the woods behind the house to go, search him. That's what they said when he was looking. And as they go out there to search, they find the dog.
The dog.
Tied to the tree, mutilated by a hatchet or an axe or some shit like that. And
they were thinking maybe the dog had been killed so that he wouldn't alert the family to someone coming into the home. So that
I think it would. I don't think that. You know what I mean? Because if you're gonna do that much to her, you would have just killed the dog.
I think they did it to taunt the family, but they didn't find it before Candace was killed. So, So investigators basically zeroed in on James and weren't looking at anybody else, and obviously weren't looking through the evidence since they didn't collect most of it.
They said he was supposedly armed and dangerous, which
there was no evidence.
He had no previous history of any violent offenses or anything like that. He was.
It's like
I think he was put into the mental institution to get, rehabilitated because he had issues going on. So I think they had him in there for a little bit, but other than that, he was chilling. He was in the woods. I mean, I think he had a knife on him, but other than that, I mean...
He didn't have 3 guns on him.
No.
And the other thing was that once the autopsy was performed, the coroner said that it had to have been at least 2 people, but most likely 3.
And he don't even like being around people,
especially
his own family. So that right there, that already eliminated him to me.
Yeah, exactly.
But he could have had a mental breakdown. You know what I mean? I don't want to put it past that, but I mean, I really don't think so.
Exactly. So the stuff that was left behind by the police was a shotgun shell in the crib, the green blood-soaked comforter that she had been wrapped up in, a computer monitor that was stained with blood.
I think that was used to prop up the bed so they can get her up under there. A bunch of bloody towels, and I believe they found the bunch of bloody towels. They found some stuff in a trash bag up the street.
Yeah.
And the mom ended up recognizing it, was like, no, those are my towels. And it had her daughter's blood on it. So whoever did it tried to wipe themselves up and tried to clean up and then took off.
And so once they gathered everything up, they went down to the sheriff's station to turn it in, and they would not talk to her. She waited and waited and waited.
They literally were avoiding her.
And they sent out some young guy and said that the detectives were too busy. So she left, and then
being shady.
Later on, Deputy Briscoe came to their house with a search warrant for the evidence that she was trying to turn in voluntarily that they should have taken in the first place.
Yep.
So again, they're still looking for James. They found him 3 days after she was murdered, and he was charged with first and second degree theft and trespassing.
He didn't get charged with anything. Nothing with his sister.
So they said that he had broken into a house and stole hatchets and flashlights, and he was held on a $500,000 bond at Fremont County Jail. Again, never charged with anything having to do with Candace's murder, but they still have him at the top of the suspect list because this is an unsolved case. So nobody's been charged in her murder.
So they ended up dropping the charges on him, and because of his mental plea of insanity.
Well, they didn't drop them, but he was found guilty by reason of insanity, so they put him
he's found not guilty. So they put him in a health institute in Pueblo, which is like 30 minutes south of us.
Yeah.
So he was going there, and every time his appeal came up, and he tried to put in an appeal to come home, the cops would come in and say, nope, he can't go out. He's still a suspect in a murder case, this, that, and the third.
Even though
I think it was like the taunt, you know what I mean? Like to be, so like, how? I got you, you ain't getting out. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, come on.
So a couple months after the murder, Candace's mom, Dolores, filed a complaint with the Colorado Attorney General's office because she believed the case was completely mishandled, which it was. So she showed the pictures of the evidence she had taken, and as like the major proof that it had been mishandled. So 10 years later comes along, December of 2016.
Storage wars goes on.
Pretty much.
No, I'm just playing. So the dude, there was a storage place, and this guy named Rick Ratzlaff.
Rick Ratzlaff.
So he looking in the storages, and there's the ones where you can like peek in, check them out, but you can't go in and look. You know what I mean? So he saw one that had like a bunch of like cop flashlights and stuff like that, or like the police lights for your car.
And he wanted
them. He wanted them. So he ended up buying that storage for like $50. And after he opened it up and he starts to go in and look, man, let me tell you what this dude finds. Man, he goes in there and first thing he finds is the lights of the police and stuff like that. He starts to see like police uniforms.
So he saw the lights that he wanted, and he's looking through it, and there was some boxes that were labeled evidence, which shouldn't be in a random storage unit.
Nope. So he kept going and going and going.
And found an axe.
I think it was a bloody axe. I think the axe had, or a hatchet or something like that, had blood on it.
Blood-stained rope and a pair of bloody socks. They were all sealed in separate plastic bags.
Mind you, they had police uniforms. And guess whose name was on the uniform? Officer Deputy Dodd. The same dude who she got into it with, who kept popping up looking for her brother, who investigated her murder and then did all this shit at her crib. Excuse my language.
How ironic.
How ironic that all this stuff has ended up in a storage and he couldn't even make the payments on it.
You would think
all that evidence in there.
If you're gonna take evidence, either put it somewhere you can afford it, but
no, that right there, I'm already wondering. First of all, the only way he could have that in there is if he's hiding it. He wouldn't be trying to take it to the police station. He wouldn't be trying to do anything else, which we'll get to that in a little bit. That was one of his excuses. He tried to say that he was trying to write a better report. So then he was, after transferring it from one place to the next, he put it in storage. Complete bullshit. Anybody who believes that is a moron. I'm sorry.
There's too many red flags. So, Rick had previous issues with the sheriff's department, so he didn't want to just hand the evidence over because this whole thing is sketchy.
I don't blame him.
And he thinks that it would have been
I would have called the feds.
Up.
I would have called the feds immediately.
So,
me personally, because I don't want to get my hands dirty in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd have been like, I'm going past y'all.
So,
sorry.
The police showed up. He called the police to come look at the storage unit, and they showed up, and his wife recorded the conversation between Rick and the police. Rick's wife recorded the conversation between Rick and the police. They were basically trying to, like...
I think that was the chief that was in the video.
Yeah.
It wasn't Dodd. I don't think it wasn't
Dodd.
It was the chief. Now, mind you, he already on some shady... It's a whole bunch of shady stuff going on in this entire police department.
Yes.
You know what I mean? A bunch of people are under investigation. Some people are on paid leave. I believe that was...
Nothing.
This nigga car downstairs.
We live in an apartment complex, and if there's not cars sweeping in the parking lot, it's the people above us screaming and fighting nonstop. So
like WWE.
Yeah. So.
But we be getting a lot of people cars getting stolen, and you know what I mean. People get shit get broken into, and I ain't having it.
So.
Yeah, you gonna catch a hot one? You try to take mine. No, I'm sorry.
The evidence that was found in the storage unit is with the Colorado Bureau of Investigations now, and they look into any misconduct and any unsolved cases that are currently
it's
open.
It's like an FBI but for the state.
Well, they said they're looking into all of these cases that have any potential misconduct or any that are unsolved in Fremont County Sheriff's Office.
They about to be in trouble.
Right?
Trouble.
Yeah. Because if this is not misconduct, then I don't know what is. So Candace's family is hoping that with the Colorado Bureau of Investigation having the evidence, that maybe they'll get a little further.
The DA didn't even really do anything when she went to her. You know what I mean?
Nothing.
Like, and we'll have... When she went to the DA acted like she didn't really care.
In April 2017, Officer Dodd left the force to retire, and he moved to Texas, I think. But
he got out of town, bro.
Yeah, but
he
then
was
in
scared.
May,
It was on the heels.
Right. In May, he was charged with 2 counts of misconduct. And then...
That had nothing to do with this stuff.
Well, no, that was with this. But then after that, video evidence was found in a landfill because him and his wife separated, and his wife called like one of those like 1-800-JUNK that comes and picks up all of your crap and puts it in a dumpster. Well, I guess there's regulations where they're required to go through it just to make sure nothing off the wall is in there.
Yeah, it's just like if somebody leaves a refrigerator out on the side, you have to take the doors out that way. There's nobody or no kid can get in there or stuff like that. And
so they ended up finding some video evidence in there that connected him to a sexual assault case.
Which he was already under investigation.
This case just spun off in a different direction. It's unsolved still. Seriously? It's unsolved still.
It's unsolved because everybody's trying to protect those cops. Yo.
Exactly.
That's the only reason. They're still trying to say that the brother did it, which there's no physical proof. He didn't have any guns on him.
It's easy to blame things on somebody who can't defend themselves. And him having such severe psychological and mental disabilities, it's easy for them to pin it on him, but they don't have any evidence, so he has not been charged. So there's a couple different theories that people have in this. The first one is her brother, which is highly unlikely. The second one...
Though we can't rule it out,
Yeah,
though.
you can't rule it out. I mean, it could happen.
It could happen. Like if you do have mental illnesses, and if you are trying to get help, like if he was in the mental hospital, and they started giving him medication, and he went off his meds again, which
possible.
I mean, it could happen.
It
but
could.
Me personally, the mom and them would leave food for him, even though he couldn't be around people. He would wait till they leave, and they would leave a fork under a knife under the mat, so he could get into the house. And they had like a little cupboard for him outside with food and water they would leave for him. So there was no reason for him to do that. You know what I mean?
It didn't make any sense. So
I'm trying to figure out why originally they had a grudge for him. They've been after him, and then the police, and then and then since then they've been let's get him. Oh, we're pinning this on him
because it's easy to do that to somebody that can't defend themselves, or that you could say, oh, he's nuts, he did it, and that's crappy.
That's somebody try that shit with my son.
So that was the first theory that we don't think is true.
The next one was the Paige's father.
Yeah.
Her baby daddy. So, again, like I said earlier, we couldn't find any information on that.
There's nothing.
Nothing at all.
Name,
we couldn't find anything.
But people thought, okay, maybe he didn't want the responsibility of a disabled child, blah, blah, blah.
If he wasn't in the picture since day one, why would he?
Why all of a sudden?
And then, not to mention, if you did all that, why wouldn't you just take the child with you?
And she hadn't gone after him for child support or anything like that. So it's not like anything would have initiated him like freaking out and killing her. Because nobody even really knew who he was. So again, not very likely.
You think the mom did?
I don't know. I don't know.
She didn't. From what I
know she was really supportive, but I don't know.
She was supportive of her, like when she was 16 and she came and told her mom she was pregnant. Her mom told her, "Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it," because she knew her dream was to go to law school. You know what I mean? So
she wanted to help any way she could.
If God forbid if something like that was to happen, I'm not going to just throw my kids out on the street, and I'm not going to throw their future away neither. Exactly. You know what I mean? Stuff happens. You know what I mean? You can't predict it, but you can't. I mean, it takes a village to raise a kid.
And it seems like Candace had a really great mom. I mean, she has fought hard. To try and find answers, right? She's fought hard to try and find answers for her daughter's murder, and she's taken up the jobs that these detectives should have been doing in the first place. Yep. And she has been at every single one of Dodd's hearings in court and stuff for misconduct. She's been there every single time. She wears the shirts that say "Justice for Candace" and all of that. Another theory that people said was maybe it was a random intruder or a burglary. Nothing was taken, and it was like pretty brutal for just a random intruder.
And on top of that, it's not like they live. I mean, where they live is easy to get to.
Exactly.
Like where I go shooting, open outdoor shooting, it's in Canyon City, and it's terrain. You know what I mean? And then to where you gotta go, like you're not going to go out there and commit and do all of that, mind you, in the middle of the day. And then she still has neighbors. You know what I mean?
Exactly. But that was unlikely. I mean, why would somebody come in there just to kill her? Nothing was taken. It just doesn't make any sense.
She didn't have any enemies.
But then
they didn't have anything. I mean, they had land, and it wasn't known that they had any. You know what I mean? Anything valuable in their crib. So.
And nothing was taken. Nothing.
For the 100th time.
So it leads back to Officer Dodd. I mean,
everything points to him.
He felt threatened when she said that she could turn him in for accepting envelopes from drug dealers.
Bro, I guarantee you that money he was getting goes up the chain, bro. Mm-hmm. I guarantee you the chief, department? The head chief. I guarantee you, all of them are in cahoots with all of this, bro. Because all of them had like. Illegal DUI stops, DUI, whatever the heck it's called. They were just pulling people over. They were like throwing cases out or like
the whole department
mishandling evidence, like all types of stuff. I'm talking about male officers, female officers, like the whole chain up. Everybody was getting in trouble.
Exactly.
Shut it down.
It's crooked. The whole
Shut
place
it down.
So we think it was him. I mean, everything points to him in this case. If it's not him, he's very unlucky.
No,
because,
it's him.
Yeah.
It has to be him.
It just doesn't
and I
make
guarantee
any
you,
sense.
his buddy officers are sitting right there with him because they're all in cahoots.
For him.
And I'm trying to, like, Canyon City is a small area. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? It's not, I mean, it's definitely smaller than where we live. Yeah. You know what I mean? And everybody's in the tight knit, and so you got all these dudes in cahoots with each other, all buddied up, and there's history of it going down, you know?
Again, the case is still open and unsolved. But earlier this year, Officer Dodd was found guilty of abuse of public records in 2018 with 2 counts of official misconduct. This was in regards to the storage locker with the evidence in it.
Okay.
He only got sentenced to 15 days in jail, which
and I think he had like $100 fine or something. $500 fine. No, it was a $500 fine, and then there was 2 $250 fines on top of that. So it equaled up $1,000 and then 15 days in jail. Bruh, if this does not show police corruption inside the police department,
then what does? Dodd, in our eyes, is the number 1 suspect. I do wonder, though, if because he was, like, in cahoots with drug dealers in town, I wonder if he maybe hired somebody to take care of it for him. That could very well be the case, that he hired a gang or a drug dealer to kill her for him. But I also think it was kind of ironic that he was the detective assigned to the case.
Yeah. He jumped on it. But it's a small area, so
that's true.
He's a senior officer, you know what I mean? So it's only going to be a select few type. That's but I don't think his altercation between her the first time, I don't think that was noted. So for him to get into it with her like that and to jump on it, he should have stepped back and let somebody else take charge of that shit.
Exactly. So the case still remains unsolved today. Unfortunately, I don't have much hope that it's going to get solved. I think that it was somebody in the police department is covering it up, and I don't think that it will be uncovered. Hopefully it does.
I guarantee you if we get this out, not just this video, but the information, you know what I mean? Get this whole story out. Because I didn't know. I live like not even an hour away from here. And I never knew about this.
We didn't hear anything.
You know what I mean? Until
just like with
just recently,
the Shea Stein case.
Exactly. So
in Colorado, an hour away. We
even on the news, they say they talked about it on the news, but something like this needs to get out there more. This needs to get federal exposure. It needs to get federally investigated.
Yeah,
all of this. That's my opinion.
So her family is hoping that now, since the Colorado Bureau of Investigation has all of the evidence, that maybe this will get them some progress in the case. So we'll link the information down below about who you can contact if you've seen something or heard something.
Or you let us know your opinions on who you think did it.
Who do you think did it?
Or if you have any ideas on something for us to, check out and look up.
Yep, if there's any cases that you want us to look into and do a video on, let us know. And let us know your thoughts and what you think.
And if you like this one, there's going to be plenty more. Yeah, go ahead and check us out. We were uploading on Wednesdays, but life happens, and all 3 of our kids have been sick this past week, so we're a little late to the draw on this one. So we're going to upload this one, and we're going to upload another one this week as well to get caught up. So I'm not going to say the day when we'll drop it. We'll see y'all soon. We're not going to hold us to it. I'm going to just tell y'all we'll see y'all soon. How about that? So we will see y'all soon. Thanks for watching.